How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to talk about the Chinese and their argument against the dollar. Well, surprise, surprise. The Chinese compete with the US on a very, very strong economic basis and also militarily because, of course, Taiwan and the South Asia corridor with a lot of the countries down there being supported by the US. So supposedly this paper, the Global Times, is sort of the mouthpiece of the Communist Chinese Party. In this paper, they're arguing that a strong dollar actually becomes a sharp blade to cut the world up, like not in a good way, but to hurt the world. So their argument basically resides in the fact that the Fed Reserve is doing the rate hikes, and these rate hikes will increase the value of the US dollar versus other currencies, which apparently, according to their estimates, is at a 20-year high. And this will be, I don't know if this is true, but this is what it says, experiencing a once-in-a-generation rally, the dollar that is. So for many countries in the world, as the Chinese party sees it, this might be the beginning of actually a nightmare for their own currencies. So in their own words, they even say that the US is doing this to fight inflation. Now, of course, the US is doing this to fight inflation. That's not it. They get a little bit more cryptic and kind of deeper. And it says here that this is an inevitable consequence of US blind and unlimited money printing to temporarily maintain prosperity. I mean, that's pretty stinging. In other words, in the face of deep-seated problems exposed by the 2008 financial crisis, Washington has been powerless to solve any of these economic problems that it has. So they go on to say that the U.S. has taken advantage of the supreme position of the U.S. dollar on the world stage and treating this crisis like dumping wastewater, draining it onto the world. Oh, this harsh words. So a super strong dollar, according to them, and the fall of other currencies will, to a certain extent, ease the scorching inflation of the U.S. economy. But the world itself will actually be the ones who pay for it. I don't know where they get this quote, but they have here in quotes, "When the U.S. is sick, the world has to take pills." Very interesting. And then they go on to compare 36 currencies around the world that have lost at least a tenth of their value, with an example of Sri Lanka and Argentine peso falling by more than 20%. And this is compared to the US dollar being strengthened. Now what's interesting is that they go on to talk about other countries. And they're talking about the weak economies of Europe and Japan. And they're essentially saying that a large number of developing countries actually swallow the bitter pills of the economic recession caused by imported inflation. This is assuming the dollar's inflation. So in their argument, they say that countless families are actually impoverished by the Federal Reserve's move to strengthen the dollar, whether artificially or not, against other currencies. Now that's something kind of interesting to think about. Now this is the most damning part of the article. It says here that post-World War II, the U.S. has used the special awesome power of the U.S. dollar to carry out financial looting or export crisis against other countries several times over. And also, the U.S. enjoys, of course, the privileges created by the dollar and the deficit without tears. Okay, deficit without tears. So it's almost like there are no consequences to the money printing, is what they're arguing. And this is pretty harsh. And use the worthless paper note to plunder the resources and factories of other nations. I mean, that's super damning. So they go on to argue that as the dollar has strengthened in the past couple of decades, there has been an example that 100 million middle-class people in Asia have fallen into poverty, according to the World Bank estimation. I don't know where they get this, but the strengthened dollar, time and time again, cuts the world like a sharp blade. It's pretty crazy. And then the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, goes on to take kind of the moral high ground here. They say that, in a sense, it's hard to believe that the prosperity of the US is clean and moral. Well, that's the Chinese Communist Party, so we're not going to go there, right? And then they talk about de-dollarization kind of towards the end. Okay, so it says here that the anxiety and insecurity brought by the US dollar to the world has heralded the beginning of the decline of its supremacy regarding Washington's insatiable exploitation. Ouch. Europe, Asia, Middle East, other regions have explored the path of de-dollarization. This is coming from the Chinese Communist Party. You can't get more clear than that. They're going after the dollar. They're going after the privileged position of the dollar. And they're saying that this will lead them and others to the inevitable diversification of the international monetary system. Now, remember the video with the presidency of the G20, which is happening in Bali, okay? The central bank there started talking about this, that they want to get away from the dollar because it costs too much, that they want to use local currencies. Japan was on board, China was on board. It's coming, and we need to be prepared for it because it is not a joke. This, I mean, a lot of people think this is BS, but you know, if you're prepared with your investments, your financial moves, your financial education, you will be fine. You will be ready for what is coming, because what is coming is going to be a shock to the Western system. The Western system, where we do enjoy that privilege, and it's an awesome one. But the problem is that it's being taken away. It's being sucked away, unfortunately, by the people who think they know better. And in the end, they talk about the best way to restrain the rampaging dollar is to practice true multilateralism. Now, whether the Chinese Communist Party can actually do that, that's to be seen. It's very suspicious, though, right? So whether it's the financial crisis of Asia in the 90s or the global financial crisis in 2008, they say that the world has stumbled more than once on the same stone, being the dollar here. And they end it by essentially making a kind of a sweet, humble, soft, I say soft very, very crudely here. It's precisely at such time that the international community should be more determined to cooperate and build a reliable, systemic, long-term, multilateral international financial system. This cannot wait. So they make a nice little cutesy argument. But this is China. These people are brutal. They're brutal to everybody, essentially. These guys don't mess around. And then here's just a chart from Bloomberg. What this shows is the strength of the dollar, okay, compared to the Asia dollar index. And what it shows is that, look at this. That is absolutely massive. It shows that the dollar strength has pushed the Asian forex markets down super hard. And this is to the weakest point since 2003. Ouch. Look at this one. This one is the yuan tumbling. And no wonder that China's, the Communist Party is making these arguments. They're suffering. We have to remember that nothing lasts forever. Now, we do enjoy the dollar supreme position at the moment. But look at this. This is a breakdown that, of course, these reserve currencies of global superpowers don't last forever. So we need to really, really prepare for what's coming, like I said previously. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Smash the like, subscribe if you haven't. I'll see you in the next one. Maybach.